Morning, everyone. Good morning. What's up, Delta? What's happening, play? Saturday mornings in the house. Okay, we got Lizzie coming in. First female guest on the show. Oops, waiting. Shouts to everyone joining in. What's up, Fur King, my man? Hello. Oops, waiting. It's not connecting. What's up, BIX 005? Colin, what's up? Special episode today. It's taking a while to join. Oh, what's happening? Oops, I don't know what I've done. Oh, Eric. My co-host, Eric. Hello? Oh, hello?
Hi.
Hey, hiya. You all right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
I need to have
Welcome.
the phone a little bit higher. Let's see. Let's see. Okay.
All good?
Okay.
All good. How are you, Liz?
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
We talked for so long, but you've
Yeah.
never really seen me in person, right?
No. Thank you for being on my show.
No,
And
thank you for having me here.
everyone, this is Liz Oon, who's the designer
Hi.
for Sergio
Hi.
Tacchini.
Hi.
Before we get started, my daughter wants to show you.
Oh, hi. Hi, little girl. Who's that? Is that your
That's her
new
friend,
friend?
Eric. Yeah.
Oh. You say she's 8, right?
No, she's 9. She's
She's
9.
9. She's 9.
Yeah. And how old's Luca? 4, yeah? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's funny.
Before we get into the show, as we said, the tragic murder of George
Mm.
Floyd, and before we get started, we'll do a minute silence for him and his family, and I'll tell you when. Sorry. How's your day been anyway? Good.
Good.
That's good. All right, ready? And starting now. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for doing that. Okay, now let's get started. Before I ask you about how you got into your career and how you
Hmm.
broke into the industry, when you were younger, what was the shoe like? What did you have a sneaker that you always wanted that you couldn't have?
Um, I think my very first puppy love, he was really into Adidas.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
hmm hmm And so when I go on a date with him, like I couldn't look up because I was so shy, and I would look down and I always see the shell toes and Adidas
Oh, so it's the
bags.
shell
And
toes. Yeah,
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 so
yeah.
Adidas had that little soft spot in me from my childhood. Yeah,
Oh, awesome, awesome.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
how long till you got? Did you end up getting your own pair of those
No, no,
after that? Nah.
no. I think I got a Nike first. Yeah,
Nike, yeah. Do you
yeah,
remember what
yeah.
one?
I don't remember. I don't
Nah.
remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay, so what is your job title exactly for all the viewers?
So I am a brand footwear brand director for Sergio Tacchini, but
Yeah,
I don't usually like titles, so I just
yeah.
usually say I oversee the footwear program. That's what I
Oh,
say.
yeah, awesome.
Mhm.
And when I was reading that little bio on you and that, so so you broke into an industry first by winning a contest.
Yeah, I was actually training to be a automobile designer, car designer. So I
Oh,
went to
really?
school. Yeah, I went to school for industrial design, studying a transportation design. And I think last year when I was about to finish school, Nike had a competition, so I entered. Um, not really thinking much of it, and then it got a grand prize. So that's kind of like how I got my foot in the door.
Yeah,
Totally unexpected, but turned out to be the best thing
yeah.
ever. Seriously, seriously.
Awesome.
Hmm.
What was the
Because
shoe?
it was actually about female sneakers, because I used to buy boys Jordans because, like I didn't want to buy like girl sneakers. I wanted to buy men's sneakers, but they didn't have anything that I liked. So I thought there was an opportunity for something like that. So it was more targeted towards female sneaker head kind of a story. Yeah.
Grouse. And what was the prize? You got the sneaker made or?
Um, I started the internship there, and I think they gave me money. I can't remember, like a couple thousand, I think. Yeah, I can't
Awesome.
remember. Yeah, so long
And the
ago.
job and the intern job.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Grouse.
so it was really, really fun because I didn't know anything about footwear, but I
Yeah,
got there. But Nike is really good for, they have a really solid foundation training course for
awesome.
anybody who's coming in. So, they taught me a proper training
Yeah,
to be a footwear designer. It's rare to have. If you go to other companies, you're just kind of thrown in the mix and you have to kind of figure
you
out
have to.
things on your own.
Yeah,
But Nike has a really good, like, a foundation system. So I was, very lucky to be taught in a very proper way.
and
Another thing that was really good was back then, there was no such thing as lifestyle shoes, fashion
yeah,
shoes.
yeah. It
Back
was
in,
all.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. They were
back,
made for what they were for. They were
right, right, right.
basketball shoes were made for
Hmm,
basketball, and
hmm,
this.
hmm, hmm, hmm. Back in the day, mentioning fashion at Nike was a F word. Like, oh, don't say the F word. It
Yeah,
was like taboo to say fashion because
really.
Nike was all about innovations,
Yeah,
all about solving problems. It was really about like making the sport better.
yeah,
So it was actually the other end of the spectrum when it comes to creating a sneaker. So there, I really learned to how to really focus on ideas and innovations. So I think the very first project that I worked on was when I was there. I had a little laundry bag that's kind of like a collapsible. It has a wires in four corners, and it claps, and you could twist it into a little
yeah, yeah.
circle. So I had that, and I was able to kind of apply that idea into a shoe. So it was like a collapsible shoe. So
Oh,
you
awesome.
twist it, and then it becomes like a little ball, and then you let it open, and then it pops up, and it becomes a
Yeah,
shoe,
yeah,
kind of like
yeah,
that. So it's
yeah.
really dealing with like coming up with new ideas and concepts.
It's like
Yeah.
sort of like a beach sandal sort of thing. Like,
It was kind of like a more of a booty shoe.
oh,
So
really?
very, very, very different from like what was happening back then, because like now we're making booty shoes.
Yeah.
and it had a different parts of outsole, so it could actually like fold it into a little small thing. Yeah.
And were you at Nike for long? After you finished your
Um,
internship, did you stay on longer
I
or?
was there for a little longer, and then I start to talk to some recruiters wanting to have me go meet the team out in Puma.
Yeah,
And I said no, no, no for a while because I was really into creating, being part of the innovation process.
yeah,
It was about, like being fashion was a taboo back then. So I was like, oh, I don't know. It's like too fashion. Like, I don't know. Um, but they flew me out there and I met the team and I just fell in love immediately with the
yeah.
team. So I started working at Puma after that. So from Portland to Boston, I moved across the country to be with Puma.
So is that where you grew up in Portland?
No, I actually grew up in Torrance, California.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. And then in Puma, what was the first thing you worked on there? Was it like the old school stuff or retroing that?
No,
Or
it was, let's see, it was more, I did a lot of women's shoes,
yeah,
mostly women's shoes, and motion shoes. It's a category called motion, kind of innovative.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then Evo, some of the Evo shoes. So Evo shoes are you take the heritage shoes and then you evolve it a little bit.
yeah, yeah. You like you make
Yeah.
them, yeah, yeah. Like how
Hmm.
Adidas did with the Boost, and they done the
Right,
whole
right, right.
Origons, and they put the
Hmm.
Boost sole on them. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm. So yeah, and then I think I worked on some motorcycle boots and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Okay.
So yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
I tapped
really?
into several different categories.
And then from Puma, where did you go from? Is that when you came to Sergio or?
No, so from Puma, it was during their heydays. So Puma almost went bankrupt. And they made a really big decision to go lifestyle. And this is a first time for a big footwear company to say, okay, we're not going to be performance, we're going to be lifestyle. And they
Yeah,
really focus on that. So that really worked for them. And so, and the timing was right too, because I don't know if you remember a shoe called Mastro. Mastro was a really weird, like wild looking shoe, but really.
oops. Oh,
Okay.
oh yeah.
And,
Okay.
yeah. And so based on that success, they tried to really push like styling and fashion side of things, and it really, really worked.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what they did.
Well, that was a good choice
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they killed it. They're killing it now.
I
Like,
know, I
yeah,
know. So it became so big, it became so successful. So it was really fun to ride that wave with the brand
yeah,
because we couldn't believe how fast it was going up. Um, But there's some downside to it too, because when you become really, really too strong on lifestyle sector, then when you try to do performance, then it kind of gets a little bit
yeah. They
difficult
won't
because
look at
there's
you as
yeah,
much. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right,
They'll be
right,
like,
right.
oh no, yeah,
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 yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's when I got to learn a lot of heritage models for Pumas and things like that. So I actually bought some
yeah,
because I know you guys are really into like heritage stuff, and I was able to find some. And I actually found a couple of examples of how it was really design driven back then for Puma. So
yeah.
so this is a basket.
Oh yeah, I love baskets. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Hmm. So if you look at this graphic, it's actually Puma cat
Yeah.
put it into the shape of what do you call it? Rosette?
Oh
The
yeah.
little, yeah, yeah, yeah. But if you look at it, it's actually, you could see the puma head. This
Oh
is a
yeah.
puma cat, put it in a shape of a rosette. And then,
They
so
look crazy.
yeah, so this is when we were experimenting with a laser cuts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so this is one of them. And then this is a puma
Oh, that's crazy.
first round.
Sick.
So this is also we made an all white upper, and then I just lasered these
Yeah,
airplanes,
that's
and
crazy.
yeah, a little window with the passengers.
So
And
you done this one and the one before as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then you have a little buckle
Grouse.
thing, a seat back buckle.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these went production, but I thought you guys might actually enjoy
Yeah,
like
that's great.
seeing
Oh, so
these.
they never came out.
No, they never came out.
Mad. So you've
Yeah.
got so how many? So only the people that worked on them have a pair.
No, I think these are just one-off samples.
That's it.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And some of the shoes that I wanted to show you, like you know how I said Puma was really, really design driven, and they were really trying really new things.
Yeah.
And one thing that I learned working there was that because one of back then our boss did such a good job of pooling really, really amazing, great designers from all over different countries. So
Yeah.
if you like go to the office, there's so many different languages you could hear because everybody came from different, countries, right? Super talented. Um, and I learned to really pay attention to the bottom because,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah, because this is the area sometimes it gets neglected
Yeah.
because you pay a lot of attentions on the
To the
upper,
top.
but the really good designers like they really go into details. It's kind of like their playground, so
Yeah.
you actually put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah. Because no
And
one sees
so
the bottom.
yeah,
Yeah.
look, like I mean, isn't this crazy? I'm like, what do you have to be on to create a also like what is this,
The top
but
of it
like some
looks
of
like the peacock feathers at the back.
uh-huh, uh-huh. So like some of these things, like some of these surfaces that they're carving out, like you could see that they're really having fun. So this became kind of like a little competition between designers, like
And everyone,
who
yeah.
could go kind of crazy at the bottom,
Yeah.
Um, some of these things, some of the things that we were doing were so crazy. Like we would design something crazy and try to see how we could make it instead of okay, going the other way around, which was really rare because it's difficult to have the whole setup to be evolved around having a design focused process.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's literally, I remember a designer drawing up a shoe, smiling shoe, like a face with a smile. And
Yeah.
then we'll sit down and go, okay, how can we make this?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is so crazy. So if you see shoes like this, like
Oh yeah.
this
Wow.
is a Puma shoes, like what the hell, Like this
It's
is like
crazy.
aerating, shoe or something.
And
Um,
that never came out.
This one came out. This
It
one
did.
came out. All these came out. It's so
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. These both were done by Peter Schmitz, who
Okay.
designed Mastro. That was really iconic for the brand. I think he did this one too. Like this is like a tango, I think, a dancing shoe. But some
Wow.
of the
Oh
surfaces
yeah.
that
You
he
can
was
see the
working,
heel.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, some of the surfaces he was working on and some of the material choices that he was making were really beautiful. So yeah, so like I collect these kind of like these sneakers, like some of the sneakers that are unique and inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you make those there, where the design place was? Like, was there the
Sorry.
factory part of it in the same place? So you design there
Oh,
one, and then like they
so
they make it in the next room, or
no, Puma didn't have sample room.
yeah.
Um, we would just sample everything overseas. So yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
think yeah, I think if anybody's interested in becoming a footwear designer, I think the big fun part of being a footwear designer is you have to know the product design part of the things, but you
Yeah.
also have to know the fashion part of the things. So then you have to get to go to a lot of different places, see a lot of things. You need to be inspired. So there's like inspiration trips and there's a
Yeah.
development trips. So you actually get to travel quite a lot.
Yeah.
which was, I think it's the best thing ever to be able to travel in someone else's expense, you know? So
Yeah.
that was, yeah, that was, so yeah, that's the perk of being a footwear designer. If you like traveling, yeah, definitely you get to travel a lot.
And when you left Puma, is that when you went to Sergio, or I think, or something?
No,
Adidas is talking about Adidas.
then Puma went really, really high, start plateauing. And then by then, all the designers were working for Puma were really wanted by a lot of other brands. And then everybody started leaving. I think within very short period of time, a lot of designer left.
Yeah.
A lot of them went to Converse. Some went to Reebok, Fila. I actually ended up going to Adidas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I went to Adidas. Um, the when I went there, Adidas just started to do a original,
Oh,
and
Adidas
so
original. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and so it was struggling a little bit because a lot of heritage models were popular among older crowds, older
Yes, of
consumers,
course.
but
Yeah.
not younger ones were really interested in it. So the biggest task was how do we embrace the younger consumers and have them get on board with
Yeah.
what we love. Um, you know, like the communication was difficult. Even they have two different logos. They have the leafy logo and then they have the triangle logo.
Yeah. The trifle and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right, trifold. Yeah. So even to communicate what the differences are between those two were really difficult. Like people didn't know, you know.
Yeah.
So definitely there were some periods where, you know, they had to get used to seeing two different logos and, you know, try to figure out what those meant and things like that. But, you know, eventually it worked. So now, you know, everybody knows and everybody loves
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Original Four. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
I went there, and one of my responsibility was to kind of revamp the Missy Elliott collection.
Okay.
They launched a Missy Elliott collection. The hype was there at the beginning, but it wasn't that successful. So we had to kind of rework the. It was done out of Germany back then, I think at the
Yeah.
beginning. But they thought it's more appropriate if they do it from US.
Yeah.
So I think that was one of my earlier um, projects. And so this is one of the Missy Elliott.
Is that the first ones that came out? Is that the one when you started?
This is the one I started.
Yeah.
When I
Awesome.
started. So this one came out, and I think it was really well received. It was like sold out rather really quickly. But this one was really interesting because these are kind of sharp in the edges.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody at the factory had to wear the gloves to make it
Yeah. Yeah.
because if not, then they would cut themselves. So, you know, but, you know, we were able to, you know, push it through. And this is kind of the beginning of molding things into the upper. And,
Yeah.
you know, later you start seeing a lot more molding happening
Yeah. Yeah.
between brands and things. So I think this was a fun shoe. So it came in silver and gold, and I think one
Oh,
other
yeah.
color.
And did you get to meet her?
Hmm?
Did you get to
Yeah,
meet her
yeah,
and
yeah.
work with her? Yeah. Yeah.
We would design, we would make samples, and we would meet with her, present it to her, and you know, get her approvals and things like that. She's mad cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hmm. So we would try to do like really fun but different things. Like I found this one, I was like, wow, what the hell is that? So this is like a little ruffle thing in the
That's
back.
crazy.
I know. So yeah, so
Is that from her range as well?
mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then I was pulling some stuff out and I thought, oh, this one was a fun one.
Oh, so you
Jeremy
work with
Scott.
Jeremy Scott
No,
on
no, I
those?
didn't
Oh,
work
no,
with
no,
them.
no.
I didn't work with them, but I found it in the box. So I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is yeah. I mean, it was a really simple. It was a really brilliant in a way that he just took the shoe and then put a wing on it, but it became so
Yeah,
iconic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Were you
So.
at that's when he did when they gave him the range to do?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
you
him a
were there.
couple of times. Yeah, I saw him downstairs, like looking through the materials, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then so of course, there's like a heritage, more of a classic type
Oh
of
yeah,
style. So we would look at our heritage models, and then just tweak it a little bit, just to make it a little bit more modern, so
more
that it
modern.
takes,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So it has really old school kind of a feel to it, but just kind of giving a little bit of twist so that it takes colors a little bit better, it
yeah.
takes materials a little bit better. Um, so like you will see more of an older execution, logos and things like that. Um, so
And we,
these are more closer to heritage models.
yeah.
But then we definitely wanted to try to modernize some things. And so we would try, let's see, like this. This is a
Oh yeah,
off
they're sick.
of Oregon, I think,
Yeah,
call, yeah. But we put it in a new bottom. We just
totally
made it,
different. Yeah,
yeah. So it's kind of like an evolution version of this is, I think, too ahead of its game, because I think like the booty was a little too early to come
yeah,
out.
yeah.
But you
And
could kind of see like what kind of things that we were trying.
that's awesome. So would you
Yeah.
start with the shoe, looking at the original shoe, and then like would you start this first sketches with paper and pencil, and then go to the computer?
So the great thing about Adidas was that it had a sample room. But surprisingly, when I got there, no one was really using it. And I was like so shocked that not many people were using it. So I took
Yeah, yeah.
full advantage of the sample room.
Wow.
And yeah, and when I got a project, I would sketch it up. And then immediately I would go down to the sample room and work with the ladies down there. And
Yeah,
then, so then by design presentation, we had some sort of a sample to show also, and that helped tremendously. And I think after that, I think more people start using sample rooms. So that was a good thing. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like a being in a playground, like going there,
yeah.
try things like
Oh, it'll be
different
the
ways.
best.
Yeah, 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 for
Go in
sure,
there.
for
Yeah.
sure. And it's free and they're doing it for you. I'm like, come on, why aren't you using it more? So yeah. Um, so sometimes we would go really far out. Like this one was
That's sick.
like really modern.
That's crazy.
Um,
Is that
yeah,
Adidas
so,
equipment?
no, it's actually something completely new. Like they wanted
Oh wow.
a more of a like a running bottom, but kind of a trail running shoe. So
That's
we did
crazy.
this, yeah. And then I brought it because I found all three colors of a Gore-Tex pack. So
Oh,
yeah,
and look,
this
did
is
they
a,
come out or no? They just
hmm?
did they come out?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It did, yeah.
So this is the first shoe that I designed that they made a Gore-Tex finish to it. So I kept the samples.
Yeah, Fur King green. That's his color. Shouts to the Fur King. Actually,
Yeah,
Deb's
he
favorite
looks.
color as well, green. So
Um, the another good example. I'm gonna have to grab it real quick.
yeah, no worries.
So this is
Oh
one of my
yeah,
favorite one. It's called Forum, Adidas.
yeah. I just got a low cut pair the other week.
I love the fact that it's so iconic that it has this 2X straps going through,
Yeah,
wrapping around your ankles. I mean, this is dirty because I wore it. But, you know, like I would take a look at the shoes and find something that I like. And
Shouts to
then,
Liz. Shouts to Tim Mopkins.
hey, and then I would reinterpret it,
Oh, so
the
you made
whatever.
that from
Yes,
the forum?
right. So
Wow.
then you could still see the X going on,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And then you will see the three stripes, but here you see it
Yeah,
in
they're
perfect,
perforated. Yeah. Wow,
right?
that looks crazy. Is that
And
like snake
then,
style skin on there?
and
Yeah.
then you see this kind of a mustache
Yes.
shape, and that is perfed in the same
Oh,
shape.
crazy.
Yeah. But, you know, but if I don't tell you, you wouldn't really know. But like some of these inspirations will come from old
The old
heritage
stuff.
shoes. So this is like a totally modern version of
That, yeah.
this,
I
but
wouldn't
it's
have,
not
yeah, I wouldn't be able to
right,
know.
right, right,
If
right,
you didn't
right.
say it, I wouldn't know. Yeah, that's crazy.
But this shoe was really cool because we actually spent a lot of money on putting really nice hardwares,
Yeah.
you know, like something that you would see it on like a bags or like handbags
Yeah,
or
like a
something.
bag. Yeah, yeah, like a different. Yeah, yeah, like
Right,
a
right, right,
handbag
right.
style. So
And
yeah,
then like there's a lot in there. So one, two, three, four in one shoe. So for a pair, there's eight of them. You know, it's not
yeah,
cheap. Um, but it was totally worth it. So like, and this, you know, this shoe was really good to like dress up and down and a lot more modern and
yeah.
kind of more sexy, I guess. So like things like that did really well for them,
And Jimmy.
and it takes colors really well. This is more
Oh
of a
yeah, that's
burgundy.
sick. Oh, it looks completely. That even looks completely different to the black one. Like
Yeah.
like a
And
different
then,
shoe.
yeah, and then more of a plain kind of
Oh
a,
yeah, that's nice.
yeah, right. So, so it's a plus when you design something, you design it in a way that many different material could take in different spots and colors. It has to be able to take colors in many different ways.
Yeah.
So like shoes like this, I think it did within few seasons, it did like more than a million pair, you know?
Wow,
So yeah.
that's cool.
hmm Um, this one was a really surprise for me. The request was to design something crazy, you know, but being Adidas original, like we always try to kind of stick to more of a heritage model.
Yeah, yeah,
But the examples were like Nike shoes and things like that, and so I designed something, and I was thinking it was really really crazy
wow, that's
for
sick.
Adidas to do that. But again, this was interesting because back in the around that time, I think the capsules were happening. The vulcanized shoes were really strong. So I designed a capsule, like half capsule, but then half back half is like EVA,
Yeah,
you know? So nobody has done like combining two different uh, outsoles, you know? It's either all foam or all capsule, but it was like a half and half.
yeah, yeah,
Um, So a lot of kind of details like that went in there, like the Linger web was on the back there and things like that. So like this one, I thought it was really, really crazy. But like I think in few seasons it sold more than a million pair too. So
wow.
yeah, so yeah. And I think this one and these ones were so successful that even after I left, they keep
They
doing
kept
like
on
next
making that.
version, next versions, yeah.
Yeah,
Like slightly changing it, slightly changing. I think there were like three, four different versions that are similar to that, like updates. Yeah.
yeah. And is that when you left and then went to Sergio?
No, and then when I was doing Missy Elliott stuff, I was feeling a little bit like, you know, I really wanted to give her something that was really aligning with what she's doing.
Yeah,
But it was the some certain people's idea of hip hop was very stereotype, you know,
yeah,
like they just wanted to do things that are bling bling and like
yeah, yeah,
super sexy and things like that. and I felt like I should really want to dive into the culture a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I just didn't want to design shoes by just licking the surface. I really wanted to learn more about the culture itself.
Yeah.
So I ended up leaving Adidas because I was starting my own lady shoe line.
Ah, yeah.
And when I was doing that, I had an opportunity to work with a brand called the Hundreds.
Ah,
And
yeah.
this
That's
is
the
a,
one
yeah,
that
yeah,
done the Puma collab.
right, right,
Yeah.
right. So that's the brand, a streetwear brand. So I got to work with them and really learn the frontier, being a frontier of culture making process, so that was really good.
Yeah.
Um, oh, I just wanted to show you this one too. I found this one of my
Oh, yeah. I've
favorite
seen that
shoe.
one.
Yeah. This one is really cool because I love the bottom. If you look at it, it's kind of like a Pac-Man.
Oh, it is too. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's sick.
Like you could tell he was having fun designing. Like you could
Yeah, that's
totally
awesome.
tell. Yeah, and then I love the heel cuff and everything. So that I share. Like this one I found too. I was like,
Yeah,
I
that's
love this little heel piece on the back.
yeah, man.
Yeah. I heard that this is for like downhill running shoe.
Yeah.
So you could break it like as you were running down
Oh,
the
okay.
hill.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. So I heard that's what it's for, but I thought it was so cool,
The
like on the
colors.
backside. Yeah, the color is so crazy too.
Huh.
Yeah. Let's see. So I went to the hundreds and they had basic shoes, kind of like Vans. So then there, not only I really learn about how to really be in the culture and be alongside with these people who are really creating culture within that scene, but I also learn really how to work with materials and colors because shoes like Converse or Vans, these shoes are very, very simple shoes, but you have to kind of keep on changing it a lot
Yeah,
every
yeah, yeah.
season. So I brought a couple. So this is a shoe that they very basic, you know, like that's the shape, the
Yeah,
100 shoe. But like this one I liked. We
that's
never
cool.
made it, but like I had a grandma coat looking kind of like this, and I wanted to do like a grandma couch
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah.
pack. Yeah. So yeah, there's two colors.
And they came out for sale?
No, no, we
Nah.
never made them. We never made them. Um, and then, this would be another execution where we would do it with like a waxed canvas,
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah,
utility pack with utilitarian kind of a lace. And then I added a toe bumper over it, the mid cut and things like that. So like taking every part of the shoe and pay attention to it and
yeah,
then
yeah,
try to utilize like this is where I really learned how to pay attention to every components of the shoe because it's such a simple shoe. Like how do you change it up every season?
yeah.
You know? Let's see. This one was their kind of a version of a Converse Chuck.
Yeah.
Um, this one we work with uh, oh God, oh I forgot the brand name. But something over moon. Anyways, this graphic was done in India by literally wood print.
Oh,
Somebody
really?
was like, yeah, by hand, literally wood block. They were just printing it. Um, so I thought, I like that story. Like this one was with Flying Coffin. Like we put some
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
there, some snake leather skin, a little bit
It
more
looks sick.
dressy. Yeah. So things like that. Like I brought this one because I remember making this. We only made 100 of them. It was a Grateful Dead tie-dye shoe.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Because we only made 100 of them, we had to randomly cut the patterns, and I had to sit there, make sure each pattern kind of ends up with the
Oh, yeah,
patterns that
on the
kind of
front, yeah.
match,
Yeah,
because like otherwise it looks really odd. So I
yeah,
just remember like sitting there like hand matching 100 pairs patterns, you know. So I brought that. Hey, hi Tony, how are you? Um, so yeah, so that was kind of like the hundreds. But what I learned from them was that um, a model of people over product was
Yeah.
what I learned. Yeah. Because it was about people. It was
Yeah.
about taking care of the community. It was about giving back. It was about having fun together. It was about doing it together. So yeah, so that was really good to learn.
Awesome.
And how to hustle, you know, like all these small
Yeah.
brands, they don't have a lot of resources. So you
Yeah.
just got to work with what you have. And I wanted to, so I ended up getting all these shoes because I was actually looking for a shoe that I wanted to show you, but that shoe I couldn't find. Um, but I wanted to show you. So we actually worked on a Adidas collaboration with the hundreds, and this is
Awesome.
Stan Smith. And I want to explain a little bit about the Stan Smith tongue logo.
Yeah.
If Kiss Cash is here, shout out to him. He has
Yeah.
a
That's Kiss
podcast called,
Cats.
yeah, Soulful Sneaker Story.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
You
listen
had
to,
Stan Smith on there.
yes,
Yeah.
Stan Smith talk about the day that he had to go take photos of his face.
Yeah.
He actually shaved his mustache,
Yeah.
but he always has his mustache. But
Yeah.
it just happened that day he didn't have it. So they took photos of him without it, and that's what's ended up landing
Uh,
on the tongue graphic, right?
yeah.
The skate guys at original knew that story, knew that he always does have a mustache. So if you buy Stan Smith from Adidas original skateboarding,
Yeah.
it has little fudgy
That's that. Yeah.
mustache. Yeah, so that's the story. So we actually took that story and did gave the same mustache on Ben and Bobby, two owners of the hundreds. So
Right.
if you're in the know, you get to know these stories and you really get to have fun more, you know?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
thought
Yeah.
you would, yeah. So anyway, so the shoe came out like that.
Awesome.
And then you could kind of see like the fuzzy, like a velvety mustache kind of glued onto their face, you know,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of telling that story that it's supposed to have a mustache, but it doesn't. And this is what the final shoe looked like. Like that shoe, I couldn't find. It's just simple, nice shoe, but you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a little stories like that on each shoes, and I think if you learn to find out about those stories, you know, it's so much more fun to actually be
Yeah.
part of
I
the.
never knew that. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
All
Kiss
right.
Cash,
Now,
if you're here, shout out to you. Yeah.
now the young line
Yes.
from
So
Sergio and Taliban.
after that, I had a baby, and then when my baby became 2.5, I had an opportunity to go work with Sergio Tacchini,
Yeah.
and so it's been a crazy journey because I'm learning so much on Sergio too, and it's a crazy, crazy brand. I would
Yes.
probably never come across a brand like this because it
Oh,
has
really?
just so much history, you
It
know?
does, yeah. He started his
Hmm.
professional career, I think, when he was 17.
Yeah,
The actual build, yeah.
yeah. He's actually a professional tennis player. He
Yeah, he
won
was, yeah.
championships at titles, and
Yeah,
he
yeah,
decided to turn designer, and he actually started doing his own brand called Sergio Tacchini.
yeah.
And he's actually the first one to inject colors into all white sports, which is
Yeah,
tennis.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Hmm. And this is really fun because before Jordan, before Nike, before everything else, there was a tennis shoe.
Yeah.
And back then, they only had performance shoes. You know, they made these
Yeah, shoes, yeah.
shoes for
For
sports.
this and that, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so for it'll be for track, it'll be for soccer, it'll be for I don't know, you name it. But
Yeah,
tennis shoe happened to be the silhouette that was most easiest to wear it out on the street.
yeah.
And the tennis itself was really luxurious sports. So, again, if you
Very
listen to,
expensive. Yeah,
very
yeah,
expensive. Again, if you're interested in the story, go to Kids Cash, episode 3. I think it's about like a tennis.
yeah.
Um, they said the tennis match was more like a social scene. Like all the girls would come out like all decked out, you know,
Yeah.
like not it was more like, you know, like out there like looking for a date or something instead of playing tennis. And it was like a high status,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
then somebody told me, Kelly Vegas told me that if you were dressed in tennis wear, you were
Yeah.
allowed to be in expensive restaurants because back then tennis gears were really, really
That's
expensive.
of
Like
course.
you
Yeah.
couldn't
Hundreds of
afford to,
dollars.
yeah, you
Yeah.
couldn't afford to wear them if you don't have money. So that was the only casual wear that you were allowed to wear to be accepted to go to the formal restaurants and things like that.
Yeah.
So when you rock those, it meant something, you know, it meant
Right.
it, you know, yeah. So that's how it start to spill out from the court to the street.
Mm.
So that's it happened in US when also the culture was booming, like at the end of 80s and 90s when all this, you know, hip hop movements were happening.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. That's right.
so it got picked up in that way. And so what it meant back then, to a lot of people, for Sergio Tacchini is such a big part of their memory because that era is just never to forget. This is like the beginning of their movement now
Yeah. Yeah.
turn out to be the biggest culture that we have, you know,
Well,
like
like
a
in Europe and that, it was more of it was like the football guys wore it first.
yes. You
Like
should
yeah,
tell me
yeah,
more
like
about that too.
all those brands, like all those
Mm-hmm.
brands, like stemmed on the other. Like if you talk to Kish Cash, he's from me. I was speaking to Franklin about it as well. It's like
Mm-hmm.
on one side you had hip hop, but in the early '80s, it was more
Right.
Puma and Adidas
Mm-hmm.
with the breakers and stuff like that, and
Mm-hmm.
then more like when other forms of hip hop and more the gangster stuff and the New York styles, they were Sergio and stuff like that. More of the
Yeah.
drug dealers, really, like
Right, right,
you
right.
had that money, you know. But in Europe and that, it was more. It was the football
Right,
guys.
right, right, right.
They wore that. Firstly, before that, they used to wear boots and stuff. Like a lot of them were skinheads. You know, it was
Mm-hmm.
multiracial. There was black skinheads, white skinheads. They used to listen to reggae and stuff before it got racist and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've heard, even Kishkash on Fur King, he even mentioned that when they started playing other Europe teams in England, they would go and they would see these brands, and they started wearing them. And the main reason I heard from one guy that they started wearing them, so the police, like
Won't
when the
catch
fights
them.
would happen, they would look and they'd be like, "Oh, it's not them," because they're always looking for the dudes with the shaved heads or whatever. So
Right,
if
right.
some dude running around with like a $300 tennis suit
Yeah,
on or something
yeah,
like that,
yeah.
he can't be him. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
I
right,
was
right.
um,
He's dressed too nice. It can't be them. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and that's how. And then all of a sudden, bang, the casual movement, like, and
Uh-huh,
then
uh-huh,
everyone
uh-huh.
around, like, there started wearing
Mm-hmm.
like casual clothing. You know, like
I heard they would go and rob these shops to steal
yes,
those.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. They'll go on tours and stuff like that, or they'll just go and like spend a whole day trying to find like one even a Lacoste top or something, like,
Mm-hmm,
you know what I mean,
mm-hmm,
like,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
like we're
mm-hmm.
here in like when here is different in the '80s and stuff. There's no such thing as a football casual. Like people wore um just brands, like they would wear tennis brands or whatever, or they wear Lotto and more
Uh-huh.
Umbro and football brands, like,
Mm-hmm,
you know what
mm-hmm,
I mean, like,
mm-hmm.
and they would like, because here before the A League started, it was the NSL. And
Mm.
back then, like I wasn't allowed to go as a kid because of the fighting. Like it was all race. Like the teams were called by their race. Like so, it was Preston, Macedonia. They would fight against the Greeks. Even like there was Melbourne, Croatia, and Sydney, Croatia. They would fight against each other to see who's the toughest in Australia. Like
Uh-huh,
it's
uh-huh.
like you can ask any older person from, especially Melbourne, and like they'll tell you, like, but there was no, like, it wasn't like firms or casuals. Like it was just like bang, that's it. Like it was them against this group or this group against that group, and they would just wear like mostly soccer brands, really. But like you could
Mm-hmm.
get like, especially the graffiti writers, they would wear like this older guy, Duke. I said it in the interview with Franklin I did for LA's. He used to wear it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
Like when I was
mm-hmm,
younger, he was the only guy I seen used to wear it and stuff like
mm-hmm.
that. Like so, it was. But yeah, a lot of the influence was hip hop as well. Biggie Smalls wore Sergio flat out
Yep,
the paint
yep, yep,
tracksuit quite hard.
yep,
You know what I mean?
yep,
Like
yep, yeah, yeah,
it was.
yeah.
I
So
think Sergio was more of a New York sort of more thing
yeah, I
at the
heard.
start with hip hop. I
Mm,
think like filler, all that, like like, and then it spread out. Ice T wore filler back in the days. Like there's an iconic photo of him wearing Jordans, and he's wearing this sweatsuit, and everyone thought it's a Jordan. Like my mate was trying to find this tracksuit, He goes, "Oh, I need this Jordan tracksuit." And then when I looked at the poster closely, it was Lotto. Like it wasn't even Jordan.
right,
Just went
right,
with the shoes. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
Like
right, 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 right,
people
right,
were like, and like Callie
right,
Baker
right.
says, if you had that shit on back in the days, like
Mm-hmm. You were someone.
you
Yeah,
were
you were
someone. Yeah,
something.
yeah.
You were
Like
something.
like you weren't
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
around. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
swore. I
yeah.
was trying not to swear.
It's okay. But yeah, those energies around that time, around these brands were so fire that whoever remembers engages emotionally so deeply that when I talk to them about it, the level of energy and excitement is just so incredible. Like it's
Right.
so crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
iconic, very iconic. Like
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
messaged
mm-hmm.
Pat Cash to see if he wanted to be on my show. I never got an answer back, but I didn't care. He was my favorite tennis player. He was Sergio. Like
Wow. Yes,
yeah,
yes,
he had
yes,
some.
yes.
I
You
I
asked
reckon his
him to be
ones
in
were the
your show.
best.
That'd be
Like
awesome if he comes.
yeah,
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, so I knew there was a such a great excitement. And one of the reason why I found out about this is because I was working on which style to work on for Sergio. We were doing research, and I turn on a random thing on the computer, and Clark Kent shows up on a forum, like talk forum, and he's talking to Jeff Staple, and Jeff Staple asked him, like, what brand would you like to see it come back, like a footwear brand? And without any hesitation, he goes, Sergio Tacchini. And I was like, oh my God, you know?
yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like, wow, this is something. Because when I had my lady shoe line, like he actually did a thing for us. And so I
oh,
was like, oh my God, this must be the sign. Like I gotta find out why he's so excited about this. And then I met, before that, we came across Kelly Vegas. Shout out to Kelly Vegas. I love you
yeah.
so
Shouts
much.
to Kelly.
You're the best.
Yeah, he
Um,
is. Yeah,
he's my family. Thank you so much for everything you do. And thank you so much for Sergio. Um, we tried to work together, but we couldn't for whatever reasons. But I kept in touch. We kept talking, and I don't know why. He one day decided to give me the shoe, the Holy Grail.
yeah,
Ta-da! And I
yeah,
was like, wow. And so I promised him, I'll make you proud. I will bring this like with the same spirit, with the same soul that you
yeah,
remember
yeah,
wearing it back in the day. So I took that shoe um, and went to China. We studied it. We try to replicate it as
yeah,
close to the original. Kelly, I just got your shoe back. This is the original shoe. It was in such an amazing condition. He bought it at 1980. I think it
yeah.
just came out in
He's got
19.
yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, yeah. All his shoes are in such an
I
amazing
know. It's
condition.
crazy.
I couldn't find it from anywhere else. I think Clark Kent has some, but like we couldn't get it from him. So like when we got this shoe, I had to tell everyone like, don't leave it out. It's always to be in a plastic bag. If we
Yeah,
lose it, it's gonna be so expensive. Like everybody was so scared. Like we
yeah,
had to actually get the shape of the toe, but the guys who are making the shape of the last was so scared because they thought that if they ruined the shoe, like it would be so costly. So they actually end up not really working with the shoe to get the shape of the last. When I say last, this is the last. So this is a kind of like a plastic thing that goes into the shoe as you're making the sneaker to get the form
yeah,
of the
yeah,
sneaker. So we actually had to create a last that are very similar to this. But we would never get it perfectly. So I think out of all the projects that I worked on my entire career, I think this was the most difficult shoe. At
yeah, yeah.
first, reissuing. Oh my God, it should be so easy. We just copy it.
Nah, but
That's
it's
it.
not.
No, this was the most difficult project that we worked on. Shout out to Kevin. Kevin worked with me at Sergio. He's the amazing designer. Anyways, Kevin and I, we fought with factory in so many levels because this shoe was made in back in 80s. So
Yeah,
some of the techniques that they were using
it's different.
were, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But we kept saying, no, no, we got to do it exactly, exactly. And they were like yelling at us. They were like, I don't know, we could, thank God we couldn't understand what they were saying, but I
yeah,
know for sure it wasn't good. But we were lucky to have a developer who kind of saw the vision that we had. And like something as little as this, we realized that this leather from that leather should be different because
yeah,
through the aging process, the color changed,
yeah,
but the
yeah,
color changed different. So when we took a very careful look at it, like we realized that this leather is thinner than that leather, right? So this production shoe actually follows exactly the same thing. The
yeah.
underlay leather is thinner than the overlay leather, things like that. Um, we had to modify a
Oh,
couple things.
my partner just joined. Hey, Deb. That's Bogan with a biro right there.
Oh, hi.
Yeah,
Um, So we really really tried hard to keep everything the same,
perfect. Yeah,
and to get the shape exactly the way it is. It took so much more than what we anticipated.
different
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's a very iconic shoe, And like you
Mhm.
said, it was made in the 80s and everything. Warehouse and factories is all different. Like
Right, right, right.
the shoe
But
developed.
considering the fact that it was done in 80s, it's really shapes are really sexy and refined and sleek.
Yeah,
Like this type of a toe, like where it leans back, is kind of like what's happening in some of the shoes now. If
yeah,
you
yeah.
look at if you look at older shoes, it kind of goes up and goes like that, right?
Yes.
Now you see the shoes that are a little bit more sleek and a little bit lean and collapsed here, but like toe shapes and things like that. Really, really, like sleek. And some of the like when I saw the shoe, I was like, wow, this part is really high. It's like kind of funny looking, but like we really focus on those areas
Yeah.
to that part to be an iconic part for this shoe. So um let's see. I just wanted to kind of show you the process of shoemaking now that you're here. So we would start with a line drawing like that,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, we've
Hmm.
got 2 minutes to
Oh
go.
my God.
Um, do you want me to? I'll stop it and then I'll jump back on.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, hold on. Hold
All
on.
right.
All right, back on. Sorry, that
Say
was
hi.
just weird. It didn't go to my story. It just went to save straight to
Hi,
IGTVs.
Kelly.
Hey, Kelly, what's happening? Thanks to you and
Hi.
Kelly as
Hi,
well for the
Dave.
packages.
Oh, hi, Annie. Shout out to Annie. Good to see you. Okay, so let me just tell you a little bit more now that we have a little bit more time. We were quite surprised how sleek this shoe was considering when it was made.
Yeah,
It has a beautiful toe shape. And Kelly was saying, the toe shape, toe shape, toe shape. I cannot show
yeah,
you the toe shape. The photos, like I was told from my superior that we should just guess and run with it. But thank goodness, I don't know, whatever he saw in me, he ended up giving me the shoe. And so we were
yeah,
able to do it right. Can you imagine, like, if I didn't have the shoe and I tried to guess what it was
yeah,
based on the
yeah. It would
photo,
have
it would have been a
been. Yeah,
disaster.
yeah,
And I think hopefully, like, the willingness and maybe the sincere level that maybe he saw in me that I don't know, whatever it was, we're really grateful that he was able to decide to work with us. And so, yeah, the toe shape is great. The length really
Yeah.
determines how modern it could look or how old school it could look. Like if you look at some of the old shoes from Adidas, like toes
Yeah.
are really short.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the look. I mean, some shoes need that look to kind of have that old school look. But I think what I hear is that when the shoe dropped, it was super expensive. Back then it was about 120 something,
Yeah.
over $100, and now equivalents to close to 200 or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't cheap at all. And
Yeah.
just the fact that you have to search it and find it, and if you own it, like you knew no one else on the street would have it. And there's something about this, being made and designed and made in Italy. It was like Italian sexy, it's like
Yeah. Yeah.
luxury. It was like juicing, So yeah. So we really wanted to kind of keep everything that was beautiful about the shoe into the the reissue of our shoe. So um, literally things that even were kind of inconvenient, like the nylon tongue, it kind of moves around when you wear.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
like some of these things, like we would never change it because this just needs to
It's
be
the shoe. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like it's so funny. The factory would tell me, this little string, like this plastic string, like that's so cheap. Like, we could do a chain one. We could do like better ones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
But
said,
it's like, nah,
no,
you
no,
have to
no,
do it
no,
like
you
that.
can't. You don't understand. You don't understand.
That's
Like
right.
they're like, this box finish, like we could make it more expensive
Yeah.
looking. No, 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 no. We keep it exactly the same,
Well, that's
exactly
that's
the same.
that's like the string on these, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same thing. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's like, let's do a little nice chain, like looks more expensive. And I said, no, that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is to give you the shoe that came in back in the day,
yeah,
exactly for those one who remembers the shoe, like how they remember it. Like we really want them to relive the moments,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
that they how they remember it.
Well,
Um,
thank you for sending me some to you and Kelly as
I
well.
know, I know.
I'm gonna try
I'm so
to
sad
do.
that, like I really wanted to open one like in the show because I actually got a pair to wear test. So I thought
Yeah,
it'd be
yeah,
so special if we could like open it at the same
yeah, yeah.
time. I
That's all
know,
right. Doesn't
but
matter. I'm just wrapped there, kind of like that.
yeah.
So I'm
So
grateful. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So one of our goal was to make Kelly proud,
yeah.
and also, Clark Kent because he's such a huge fan of the
Oh, he's
shoe.
huge. Yeah,
Like when we put those shoes online, he found out that those are online, and we told him that we would send some shoes to Clark, but he said he couldn't wait anymore, or he doesn't want to wait. He went and bought like 3 sets,
he already.
and yeah, yeah, things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Of
So
course he did. Yeah.
yeah, so people who remember the brand, the level of emotions that they engage
Oh, it's the best.
is just,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
it's so crazy, the energy
all those
behind it.
Italian tennis brands are like they're iconic. You know, like
And
yeah,
tennis is, we have to remember, the young consumers, please remember, tennis is where everything started,
oh, of
before
course.
basketball.
The
Yeah, so
fly
I think
shit. Yeah,
that's
yeah. All the fly stuff. Yeah, of
mhm,
course.
mhm, mhm. So we really want to celebrate that. We really want to um, kind of bring that energy back again. And it is our and Kelly's hope that we could reach back to the people who brought that energy originally, and
hundred
form,
percent they
yeah,
will.
form
Like,
a, yeah,
especially
form
the
a
football
community.
scene, they'll go wild on it. And my
Hmm.
friend Charlie Big Potatoes, he's old school from Carlisle, and he posted up the ad that you made for the show, and then he sent photos, and even he said, he goes, wow, he goes, they made it. He goes, whoever done this made it exactly like
I
the 80s.
know
And I was
you do.
like, well,
I
shit.
know. I
He's
actually
being
have
on the
that
show,
photo.
and he's like, he goes, no
Yeah.
shit. He was freaking
So
out. It
so
was awesome.
so this is a photo that Kevin sent me after, like he just took a quick photo to tell me something. And then I was like, I had to kind of take a look at it carefully because I couldn't tell which one was new one. And I was like, wow, maybe we're pulling this off, the
Yeah,
right way,
yeah,
So that was kind of like a moment for me. Like one was done in 85 and the other one was done in, 2020. And we couldn't tell which one. And so that was kind of like a moment for me. But like, again, this is kind of like how you start all
with
the
that,
line
yeah,
art. Yeah. And then they would kind of create a sample like this as best they can. Like we would
yeah,
run
yeah, yeah.
samples couple times to kind
Just
of get to
rough,
this
yeah,
area. Yeah. So like this is kind of like more prototype. And then we would make changes on the patterns,
yeah. Okay,
right? So you have to be able to kind of learn how to do 2D things, but imagine that in 3D to kind of fix it. And then also you're working all the blueprints for the bottom,
yeah,
right? And even bottom, like some of these lines compared to the modern shoes, these stitching lines, the grooves are super big. And
yes,
it's because they hand chiseled it. They
yeah.
didn't have
In
the technique to like mold it. So like they hand chiseled the line and that's why it's so big. And we told them, can we hand do the same thing? And they're like, ah, like crazy.
yeah,
Why would you
yeah,
want to do that? Like I said, please, can you just do it? Can you just don't ask why, just do it? And so,
yeah,
they did it. They said they did it, but like, everything was a battle. But, we were able to kind of do it exactly the way it was made. So, I hope people would appreciate that because we
yeah.
really put
Oh,
our soul and
definitely.
heart into it. Um, like again, this one, the little bifold information was exactly how it was. It was dangling from here and we touched it so much that it broke off and I was like,
Yeah,
oh my god, right? And I had to tell Kelly and Kelly's like, don't worry about it. So
yeah,
it exactly looked like this, but we
yeah, yeah.
explain the history and why the shoe is so iconic here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll show you a
um
shoe. I'll show you a shoe that Deb got me a while back. This is a Sergio one. The leather
mhm.
on it's amazing, and I'll show you that just the embroidery on the front of the like the leather on it, and it's all perforated the whole way around. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
but the sole, how you're talking about the sole, just like it's plain, but it's still so good. Like the pattern difference,
Mhm.
and then you got
Mhm.
the S there, and that I
Mhm.
just love it.
Mhm.
And then with the detail here, the
Mhm.
silver coin on the back with
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
Sergio
Mhm.
symbol, with the
Mhm.
like the embroidery with the green and blue,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
got the suede there. It's just like
I wonder if that green and blue meant something. Do you
I
know?
don't
The
know,
green and blue meant for some
maybe yeah,
country or team or something. Um, anyways, so we we got the shoes made, and Kelly put together a list of 10 people who's dear to him, and I start to reach out to them, and you're one of them.
yes, thank you, Kelly,
Among
yeah,
yeah, so those were handpicked by Kelly to be to send shoes out, and I reached out to them and tried to explain it to them like what we're trying to do, like we really want to kind of do it the right way,
yeah,
reach back to the people and build a community, and we want to tell the story the right way. And amount of support and level of engagement has been far exceeded my expectations so much.
yeah.
It's just, and amazingly, every single one of them is like so nice. Um, hey, I see you. Hello, Detroit. um, so yeah, thank you for being part of the Sergio family, and we
Oh,
would
thanks for
really,
having me. I'm
yeah,
glad. Yeah,
no, we would
it's
really like
oh,
to
I can't
continue
believe
to
it.
build a
Like a dream,
story with you guys,
like
yeah,
yeah,
and just bring the glory back to how it all began
yeah,
in US, but also in Europe too. We have a couple more models to also intro, and more exciting things to come. Um, and also what I realized is that whenever we send out shoes, they say, "Oh, I cannot just have the shoe. I gotta have like the whole
Whole
outfit," you know,
thing.
like
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you know, the suits were really what was really iconic also. So, you know, like you know, doing that whole story, like we're searching for the right story to continue to tell
Yeah.
and wanting
Well,
to
even stuff
continue to
like
tell.
these, just the checkers and stuff. Even
Mhm.
these like this is from the '90s. I don't know who wore this.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's
But
so many, yeah, there's so many
there's so
great
many things
pieces.
you can do.
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm. And there's so many stories too. Like, there's the tennis story, and I've always been uh kind of a big fan for underdogs, and that's one of the reason why I really liked Adidas
yeah,
because, you know, they were always that underdog, you know, spirit. And so same thing for Sergio too. Like, McEnroe was a crazy one. He was
yeah,
officially called a super brat, you know, and I said, what kind of name, amazing name is that for a brand to own? You know, you have that a title called super brat as your DNA, you know,
yeah,
like
yeah.
that underdog spirited kind of a, you know, a brand DNA. And I think it's really beautiful because more I got to know the brand, more I realized that this brand is fueled by people. It's
Yes,
people brand. People organically made this brand what it is today, you know, like in US and in Europe also.
yeah.
Um, and so I just think that it's very organically formed love. And whenever I talk to those people, it's kind of like I'm talking to them about their first love or something, you know,
Yeah,
long
yeah,
lost
yeah.
love, like reminiscing about those days. And so whenever I'm building the shoe, like it, I just wanted to make sure that we do it the right way because it's kind of like bringing your first girlfriend, but into a modern version, you know, you gotta make sure that her characters are still
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because
yeah,
you know it so well that if I do one thing wrong, you would know, you know?
yeah.
So, yeah, so we just want to do it the right way, and we're really trying hard, and we're tapping into all these OGs and
Oh,
the amount
it's
of support.
really good.
The amount of support that we're getting are just beyond belief. So we're very, very grateful, and yeah, we hope to continue to build this love, and you know,
Sorry, I
do
can
some
just hear
really
something.
do some
Sorry.
really fun. Yeah. Oh, another thing that I wanted to show you. So you'll be surprised for a pair of shoes, about 300 people touch it for one
Yeah,
pair. Yeah. And whenever I hear that, it blows my mind because it's such a complex um, 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 a product. It looks simple, but like this is what it looks like
oh
when
wow,
it's, yeah, when it's not lasted, when it's not on the tooling. So this is flat. Everything would come together and become this piece, right?
that's full on.
Yeah. And so they would connect it this way. And then it will become like this.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
That's full on.
Yeah. So this is what it looks like. And so in for that piece to be made, that one piece, we have about so many, I counted, it's about 30 pieces of stuff.
To do
Like,
one thing, yeah,
yeah, it's like a
yeah,
big puzzle. Like you have to put 30 pieces of something
together, yeah,
in order, right order to, you know, like it's like so many pieces.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you know, like the shoe you buy, a lot of people touch it, and a lot of handwork goes into it. A lot of things are automated, but you'd be surprised. So many processes are still really hands-on.
yeah,
Sometimes it's better not knowing, we say, because if you know, like if Like if I tell them to do a stitch and turn, you stitch and turn. Like there's a worker stitching and hammering it all day, you know. So you'd be surprised how many work goes into sneakers that you buy,
Yeah.
you know. Like so, once you know these kind of things, a new level of appreciation
For shoes,
um,
yeah, obviously, yeah.
for shoes, yeah. But you know, more you know, more fun it gets because that's why shoes are so fun. It's
Yeah,
like it's like a toy, you know. I always say shoes are kind of like in between a car or like a toy. A shoe gets you from one point to another point, so it's kind of like a transportation, but it's kind of like size of a perfect toy size. So it actually stands on its own and it actually has a characters. You know,
yeah,
it has a lot of stories to it too. So, you know, it's one thing that guys could be really super obsessed about, and it's totally fine, you know. Um, so I think that's why shoes are so fun, both for women's and men. So yeah, I think more young consumers here, if you're here, more you learn, more it gets better.
yeah.
So tune into the podcast, Kish Cash,
Yeah,
the
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
soulful,
tuning to
yeah,
Kish Cash and Shout.
yeah,
I just got in
so
contact with him
informative,
a
so
while ago.
informative.
I'm gonna have to stop it there. I have to
Okay.
go to yeah. I've got a my my friend's son's birthday party to go
Ah,
to today. Yeah, yeah. But thank you so much for coming on
yeah.
the show. I've learned, and everyone else has learned so much.
Was it fun?
Thank you and Kelly Vegas for everything
Mm.
that you've done
Thank
for
you,
me as
Kelly.
well,
Yes, thank you.
and Sergio Tacchini as well. You know,
Thank you,
and
Sergio Tacchini.
yeah, for having a relationship with you guys and the brand, you know, and accepting me into that family, you know, it's awesome, you know. But
And
yeah,
thank you for being such a wonderful person, seriously. Like every single one of them that I reached out has been nothing but genuine and gentle and so wonderful. It's been like such a pleasure to
thank
know
you so much.
everyone. Yeah, seriously.
Um, Peace to you and your family. Hope you have a good night,
Be
and
safe.
thank you for everyone that watching.
Shout out to all these people that I didn't even get
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see.
Sorry for everyone. Yeah, but thank you
Thank
so
you so
much
much.
again,
Thank you.
and speak soon.
Mm,
Thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.